Well, that went on easier than I thought. Tie up the chin strap nice and tight. You can do it up until you turn blue, Fred. Jackson, you just do it normal. I need you. He's got the alcohol, folks. Anyway, wrap the straps around your body. Bring them around the front. Tie them in a knot or bow. Make sure you tie it on really securely. This is one piece of equipment you don't want drifting away. Once you've done that, the crew will direct you to where they want you to leave the boat, so it's going to be along the rail somewhere. You're going to take a big look down below you so you don't land on anybody. That hurts both you and them. And then you're going to take one hand, cover your mouth and mouth. You're going to take another hand, cover your life jacket. Look at the horizon and take a giant step forward. If you do not look at the horizon, chances are you're going to hit the side of the boat. So look at the horizon, take a giant step forward, and then cross your legs on the way down because you're going to enter the water like a little torpedo. Thank you very much, gentlemen. A round of applause for my first mate and my purser. I get to pick on them a lot, and they do a great job, folks. They are part of the A-team. We have life rafts on this boat. They're up above your head if you're on the upper deck. If they're thrown off by the crew, they will inflate. Once they're inflated, you'll be directed where to go, forward or aft on the boat, and you'll get into the life raft with assistance. We don't leave you hanging. And then you're going to get into that. We'll decide whether or not we want to leave the ship. I haven't done paperwork for 55 years, folks. I'm not doing it today, so please be safe. Also, ladies and gentlemen, if you hear 7 short blasts of the whistle, 1 long blast, that's something that I've encountered that I need the crew to take care of. They will run around. They will give you directions, and in the event that you're hearing a theme here, listen to the crew. They're fully trained on what to do in all emergency situations on these boats. COVID-19 still very much with us here in Ontario, and the Ontario rules seem a little bit different from everybody else's, so I'll just explain. The Kingston, Frontenac, Lennox, Addington Health Unit are in charge of the COVID-19 here. They've been very successful in curtailing major outbreaks. They've been very successful to the point where they've had people actually shipped in from all over the province to recover here in Kingston. So therefore, they mandate that everybody wear a mask unless you're sitting with your group. If you're sitting with your group, you may remove your mask. If you get up and go to the canteen, put a mask on. If you get up, walk around the boat, put a mask on. If you get up, go to the washroom, put a mask on. Okay? Other than that, if you're sitting with your group, take the mask off. If you buy consumable products, because you're not allowed to bring your own, head down to the canteen with your mask on, pick up what you need, and then head back to your chairs where you can take your mask off and consume them. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've got everybody on board. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to go. Crew to your departure stations, please.
தரல போடவே இல்லை டைம் லிமிட்டு. அடா இல்லை டைம் லிமிட்டே போடல. ஓகே அம்மா நான் வேணா சேரை கொஞ்சம் திருப்பிக்கவா? இப்படி திருப்பிக்கலாம் வேணா பண்ணிக்க. பரவாயில்ல, இப்படி நான் உட்காண்டா கொஞ்சம் ஈஸியாக நாம் திருப்பிக்கலாம், எல்லாமே பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஏ சொல்கிற பிக்சர் சொல்கிறியா? உடனே சொல்லவா? அவங்க ஸ்மைல் பண்ண, நீ ஸ்மைல் பண்ண. ஹரணி அதுக்கப்புறம் ஹரணி நீ ஸ்மைல் பண்ண. தங்கச்சின்னா தங்கச்சி தான். வீடியோ நான் எடுத்துகிட்டு இருக்கேன், இன்னும் வீடியோ வந்துட்டுருக்கு. எங்கே ஃப்ளாகோடு எடுக்கணுமா? ஓகே ஃப்ளாக் எடுத்தாச்சு, வீடியோ எடுத்துகிட்டு இருக்கப்பா. பாடி நான் வந்துப்பா வீட்டில் போய் நான் எடிட் பண்ணிக்கிறேன் ஓகேயா ஆ And we are off. Huh? ஹர்னியை கொஞ்சம் பிடிச்சிக்கிறேன் ஆ இல்லையா சரி ஆ ஓகேயா
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jackson. I'm located at the first floor of the Island Bell today at the Bar and Canteen. Over the next 1 hour tour, I'll be giving you a few pointers, showing you some sights, and maybe teaching you a thing or two about the Kingston area. First thing I'm going to point out, if you look off the back of the boat, you're going to see a green bridge. It's actually in a fully upright position right now. That is the LaSalle Causeway. It marks the entrance of the Rideau Canal. It also was designed by Joseph Strauss, the same person who designed the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. To the right of that, all those buildings belong to RMC. They're on the TikTok Canada. And if you're curious what this operation in the water is going on, they're actually doing a dredging operation where they're breaking up the bottom of the lake right here. They're actually deepening the channel because the Wolf Island, there are 3 ferries, going to be replaced by Wolf Island 4. It's going to be substantially larger mountain. So, like I said, that's on RMC. It's called Point Frederick. At the end of it, there's a red roof building that sits atop a rampart. Way off in the distance, you'll see a second one of these. There's actually 4 in total in the Kingston area. These are Martello Towers. Martello is thought to be a mispronunciation of the original word mortel. Mortel Towers were built in Corsica, Mediterranean island off the coast of France, and they are a coastal defense town. There's 4 here in Kingston because Kingston is the center of 3 major waterways. The St. Lawrence River, the Rideau Canal, and Lake Ontario. In 1812, when the British and the Americans were having their dispute, I'll call it, they basically knew that they needed to attack Kingston because we would be a major role if America ever decided to attack. They would have control over the St. Lawrence River, which could take you all the way to the ocean or all the way up the Great Lakes. Back in the day, as you can probably imagine, transportation was my goal. Anything by land was going to take weeks, but boats could do it in less than just days. So these Martel Towers, there's one here on Point Frederick. There's one also located over there on Cedar Island, one of many islands in the archipelago of the Thousand Islands. In a few moments, we'll be rounding Red Buoy and we'll head into the other side of RMC where I'll talk more about it.
ஹர்னி எனக்கு நீ ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்க போனியா
பின்னாடி போனா போதும்
இது வரோம் நான் ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கவா நீ கொஞ்சம் இங்கே நில்ல நான் உடைய ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கிறேன் ஓகே நீ ஸ்மைல் இங்கே என்ன பாரு இங்கே என்ன பாரு ஓகே ஸ்மைல் ஓகே ஸ்மைல் ஸ்மைல் அங்கே பாரு அங்கே இங்கே வா இங்கே வா. ஆ ஆ ஓகே, அவ்வளோதான். ஆ வரேன் இரு. கம்பியில் சாஞ்ச கேமரா விழுறோம், பரவாயில்லையா? பிரச்சனை உட்காந்துக்கிறேன்.
பேசாத. ஏன் நீ என்ன விடுற?
வரேன். ஓகே. Okay. Smile.
So we're now heading in towards Navy Bay. Navy Bay is on the east side of RMC, which not many people actually get to see. In just a short minute, we're going to head in there before doing a complete 180 and coming back out. This is to give everyone on the port and starboard side both an equal chance to see some of these historic buildings. They're about 200 years old. The reason RMC was chosen for Point Frederick was actually because there was a number of military buildings already existed here, and it was used as the Royal Naval Dockyard during the War of 1812. In and around this bay lie several shipwrecks, including a man of war, which we'll see the buoys that are marking it just past this pier here. In the 60s and 70s, diving for the purpose of investigating shipwrecks grew in popularity, and this increase in wreck diving also resulted in an increase in underwater traffic and souvenir collection, which unfortunately meant that a number of local wreck sites were stripped of their artifacts, and it was a catalyst in the formation of Preserve Our Wrecks Kingston, a group of free divers dedicated to working with other historical, archaeological, and some conservation bodies to promote an awareness of and educate respect for the rich maritime heritage here in Kingston.
ஓகே. பா நில்லு. பா நில்லு.
So you can kind of tell the age of different
என்னைய பாரு.
buildings
பா
just
என்னைய
by
பாரு.
having a look. If you look through the cracks in between the buildings right on the water, you'll notice the older limestone in that behind. These are over 200 years
இங்கே
old.
நில்ல. இங்கே நில்ல, உன்னை ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கிறேன்.
Off in the distance off the bow, that is way less than 200 years old. That big marshmallow is the Thousand Island Sportplex, which houses a couple of soccer fields I always get asked about.
பா ஒரே ஒரு நிமிஷம். பா இங்கே கொஞ்சம் வா. ஓகே பாப்பா. பா அங்கே நில்லு. அங்கே நில்லு. பா அங்கே நில்லு. ஃபோட்டோ எடுக்கிறேன். வரேன். ஓகே. அப்பாவை ஃபோட்டோ எடுத்தேன். நான் ஃபோட்டோவே எடுக்கலாம். நீ ஃபுல் டூரை நான் எடுத்துட்டு அப்லோட் பண்ண போகிறேன். அப்பா இது அப்புறம் நீ எடுக்கணும் ஒரு கொஞ்ச நேரத்தை அப்புறம் மறுபடியும் நான் எடுக்கிறேன்.
Way off our bow is Garden Island, which is a privately owned island. It's been privately owned for about 200 years. We'll talk about it shortly when we head over there. We're first going to make our detour around Fort Henry here and into Dead Man's Bay.
விடு நின்றுட்டு இருக்கேன்.
So up on the hill there, that is Fort Henry. It's not the original Fort Henry because the original Fort Henry was torn down after the War of 1812. They demilitarized the U.S.-Canada border. With that, they demilitarized all the Great Lakes. There's only a number of forts were actually torn down. And years later, when tensions re-rose between the U.S. and the British forces, they rebuilt the fort just in case. The two long buildings up there, those are the magazines, so they actually house the gunpowder and the cannonballs. A number of years ago, they were deciding what cannon they would use for the noon hour salute, where they fire off one cannon every day at noon hour in the parade square. Someone had the bright idea of shooting off their largest cannon, which fires a 110-pound cannonball. When they fired it off, they actually shattered every single window in the garrison, and for that reason, they don't listen to that guy anymore, and they just use a 6-pound cannon. Up ahead of us is Dead Man's Bay, and to our right is Cedar Island. Like I mentioned, it's part of the Thousand Islands. So is Whiskey Island, which is right off the bow. It's a tiny island between the mainland and Cedar. Out of all the 1,864 islands that make up the archipelago, this is actually one of them that's a national park. More on very shortly. To our left, this is not a Martello Tower. This is actually a flanking tower followed by a flanking ditch. This was an optical illusion and defensive strategy for the fort, where when enemy troops would be storming up towards the fort, it's very open up there, they would come under fire, and they would need somewhere to evade to. When they jumped into this pit, they thought it was their solution, when it was really probably their demise. It's 40 feet deep, 40 feet wide, and it leads just about nowhere, making it easy pickings for the defending fort, and the snipers, they would have a pit position in the tower here. This probably led to this baby and called Dead Man's Bay, along with a few other stories of 3 shipwrecks that are below us now. If you ever sail with us on our sunset cruise or the Island Queen on their lunch or dinner cruises, we actually make the cut in between the mainland and Whiskey Island there.
Honey, தொடார
The dock space you see on Cedar Island, this is all public dock space, but it is rentable. So it's first come, first serve. You fill out some paperwork on an honor roll system, depositing it in the mailbox, paying your dues for your stay at the island, and away you go. You can stay on your boat or you can venture on the island. The island does have some spooky stories along with it. So if that's your cup of tea, I highly recommend checking it out. It may not be for me, but I know there's some ghost hunters on board every once in a while. The best ghost story revolves around the fact that the stonemasons hired to construct Cathcart Tower you see up there. One of them was married to a woman named Elizabeth James, and when they all unfortunately drowned in an accident going from here to the mainland, Elizabeth came to the island in search of her husband. She wouldn't believe that he was dead. Without food or water, she eventually perished too. Months and years after that, there's still been sightings of Elizabeth on the island calling for Robert James.
Honey, order a
Tower is
ship.
no longer the original roof that Robert constructed, and the original roof was actually picked up during a windstorm and deposited about 100 yards
Stop,
into the St.
stop,
Lawrence
stop,
River, where
honey.
it sits
Tallada
today.
niya.
In just a moment, we will be leaving Cedar Island, heading over to Garden Island. We'll be pretty much at the mouth of the St. Lawrence, where if you look way off to the opening, where it doesn't look like there's any land at all off in the distance on the right side, that is Lake Ontario. To our left is the St. Lawrence River, which would be the Canadian Middle Channel. And when we get out here, I'll mention a few more things. So if you look down the St. Lawrence River, you'll see two tiny islands. Those are the Spectacle Islands. To the left of them is Milne Island, which separates the Bateau Channel from the Canadian Middle Channel. And to the right of them is Howe Island, the second largest in the archipelago. The largest being Wolf Island, where our 86 wind turbines reside. They produce about 600 gigawatt hours of electricity annually. It's an excellent island to visit. The Wolf Islander 3 ferry leaves Kingston every hour on the hour with some exceptions around lunchtime. And it's completely free to the public. So it's an excellent opportunity to go over there and check out Big Sandy Bay Beach or the Corn Maze if you have a family. It doesn't take too long to walk, cycle, or cruise the island, so I highly recommend you to check it out while you're here. On the other side of Wolf Island is actually where the international shipping channel is, and that's where the massive container ships travel.
Our Howe Island to our port, a long way down the river, and Wolf Island. Wolf Island being the largest of all the islands. It's 124 square kilometers, or in other words, it's 11 kilometers wide and about 27 kilometers long. And I'm going to let Jackson talk about Wolf Island when he's ready, because that's his family's stomping grounds. So ladies and gentlemen, Wolf Island is the largest island in the archipelago, as I said. There are 86 wind turbines on it. There's this village. It's about 1,400 people that live on it year-round. It is serviced every hour, on the hour, 365 days a year by a ferry. The ferry has two docks, both the Dawson's Point dock in the wintertime and the Marysville dock in the summertime. However, right now they're using Dawson's Point due to construction, so things are kind of a little bit hectic around the ferry docks. A new ferry coming in 2023. On the south side of Wolf Island is the International Seaway, which is why we do not see any freighters on this side of the island. Jackson introduced us a little bit to Garden Island. Now, most of the islands are privately owned. There are very few that are owned by the public. In fact, in all the islands, Canada didn't get a whole lot, but they got the biggest ones. And of those islands, Parks Canada has 22. It's all part of the Thousand Island National Park. So on Garden Island, that's been owned by the same family for 2 centuries. It was purchased from Britain way back when. The Calvin family that purchased it were boat builders, and they were loggers. They used to use the boats to take the logs downriver. The island is as it has been since the 1800s. There are no cars on the island. Very little motorized equipment of any kind. The privies are still the privies, and there's only a little bit of electricity on the island. So it's not fully serviced. The red building right on our port side, port beam, is a museum now. If you want to get on this island, you have to be invited by the family. You have to pass a background check, and you have to guarantee that you'll keep the island as it has been since the 1800s. 1 or 2 cottages come up for rent maybe every 20 years, and that's because they're passed down family to family in wills and estate planning. We're going to take about a 10-minute break now, ladies and gentlemen, as we cross the mouth of the St. Lawrence River where Lake Ontario empties into it. We'll take you over to the other side of the Kingston Harbor and show you a little bit of the highlights and lowlights of Kingston's history. Jackson will play a little bit of music for us. Great time to stop down, get an adult beverage or a soda, whatever you want. He's also got all kinds of snacks down here. So stop by, say hi to Jackson. He's only got a few days left with us, ladies and gentlemen, then he has to go back to college. He's going to have a tough time trying to adjust to a regular schedule again. We'll have to work him really hard the next week. Anyway, stop by, see him, and he's going to play some music for us right now. Thank you.
அங்கே எடு கலர்ஃபுல்லாக ஓகே ஸ்மைல் ஓகே கடல் எடுக்கிறானா நீங்கள்ரா ஆனால் உங்களூரில் அந்த பிக்சரை கொஞ்சம் ஜூம் இன் பண்ணி எடுக்கலாம். கொஞ்சம் ஹர்னிக்கு கேமரா எடுத்துட்டு அது நீனே பண்ண இந்தா.
எனக்கு முக்கியமே இல்லை. அப்பாவே என்னையும் அந்த மாதிரி நிற்கிறப்ப எடுத்து சொன்னேன். நான் ஷிப்பை கவர் பண்ண சொன்னேன். அவங்க
இந்த ஃபுல் ட்ரிப்பை நான் இந்த கேமராலாம் பண்ணுறேன். நான் எடிட் பண்ணிப்பேன். இதை நான் வந்து யூடியூப்பில் அப்லோட் பண்ணேன். நான் லேப்டாப்பில் மட்டும் மறுபடியும் யூடியூப்பில் அப்லோட் பண்ணுறேன். 2 தடவை.
Our tour is going to continue as we approach Rockwell Asylum, Portsmouth Public Harbor, and Kingston Penitentiary.
கம்ப்ளீட்லி ஆஃப் பண்ண முடியாது.
To the massive limestone structure you see here today. It opened about 20 years after the Pan and closed down in 2003, or just before 2000. It's a pretty...
அவன் நிக்க மாட்டாமா அவன்லாம் நிக்க மாட்டான்
Right next door here is the Portsmouth Olympic Harbor. The reason we have Olympic Harbor here in Kingston is because the 1976 Summer Games took place in Montreal. They needed somewhere to host their sailing events. And they chose Kingston because Kingston has a warm summer air front and a south-southwest wind, which is a super predictable wind for them to time their events to. To this day, it gets lots of action as there are quite a few sailing teams that are coming out of here every day, getting out time in the water. We see a few sailboats out there today that belong here. Beside it is the Coast Guard building, which is brand new. It's made in the last 1 or 2 years. Keeps everyone out here on the water safe. And Dickens visited in the 1800s, while Hemingway was in 1923 to cover the jailbreak of inmate Norman Ryan. There was many attempted jailbreaks and there was many successful jailbreaks, but there was never any successful escapes from this pen. The only reason it closed down, it was at one time the most secure and largest pen in the 9 in our area, but the reason it closed down was to upgrade it to what we now consider a standard of living for a penitentiary was just too great. So for that reason they closed it. It's pretty neat because they've been offering tours since 2017 now, so you can get the chance to go in and check out the cells, and even if you take the extended tour, they'll take you through the inmates hospital they once had. Pretty interesting location. It's a beautiful limestone structure. There's a million reasons why we call Kingston Limestone City. One of them is the fact that we have all these beautiful structures, but it's honestly the fact that originally it wasn't always like this. Years ago, a lot of things were built from wood, and several fires devastated the city. When it was time to rebuild, limestone was the smart decision to make, to choose to use, and it also attracted... So they're back to the regular scheduling where you can get lots of time in there. Highly recommend you check it out. In just a few moments, we'll be going along more of Kingston Waterfront. I'll point out a few other things.
it's okay. என்னைய அப்பாவே ஒரு 4 போட்டோ எடுத்தேன்
Fortunately, in 2017, Gord Downey, after a long fight with brain cancer, passed away, and the city of Kingston wanted to commemorate him. So for that reason, they added the bridge as well as the sand and a shallow area for kids to swim, making this a very popular spot on hot summer days. I myself am a big advocate of getting down to the water on a warm day and cooling off. It's an excellent... From Gord Downey's pier till up past the hospital, this is all Breakwater Park. We call it Breakwater Park because, as you notice, there's lots of stone of different shapes and sizes. It breaks the waves before they erode the land behind it. There is a structure jutting out of the ground up ahead. That is kind of something to keep your eye on here. This sculpture is called Time. Time was invented by a Russian artist. He was actually commissioned by the city of Kingston to commemorate 300 years of Ontario. This sculpture is called Time because as we pass by, it's been an optical illusion where you can notice the pillars look like they were apart, and as we make our way, by the time we were at the hospital, they will look like they've been touching the whole time. It was built out of metal from the nearby Alcan plant, and it was to signify the importance of that plant to our city at that time.
உடனே நான் எடுக்கவா பின்னாடி பாரு சேல் போட்டு இங்கெல்லாம் வந்துட்டு இருக்கியாம்மா இங்கே தெரியலையா உனக்கு
here's the Kingston Yacht Club. You kind of get a first-hand look at how they get some of these sailboats in the water. They got a couple cranes around the dockyard. Pretty neat place. This Kingston Yacht Club was established here well over 100 years ago. And to this day, they hold national and international regattas. They've even housed some Olympic sailors, one of which competed at the Tokyo Games 2 weeks ago. Many of the sailors that come out here are pretty novice, but as you can tell, there's just some experts around there too. It's a pretty neat opportunity where they kind of work on a graduate system. They work their way up through the smaller sailboats, right up to the larger classes, and eventually they become professionals. Back behind there's a boat ramp that's right downtown. You can see how important our waterways are to us when you have a boat ramp about a 5-minute walk from your main hub of Kingston. Beside that, there is the Ahoy Rentals location. So all these people on the water right here are taking advantage of Ahoy Rentals. It's an excellent opportunity to rent a kayak, canoe, or stand-up paddleboard and get out and enjoy the water in a different way. I always recommend these guys, even though we're not affiliated with them, just because I think it's a great opportunity, especially on a hot and not too windy day like today. It's amazing how far these guys will get. I believe they also run bicycles, so if that's your thing, you want to see Kingston by bike, I highly recommend you check them out again, because that's an awesome way to spend some time outside, get some exercise, and enjoying Kingston in a more personal note.
ஆ
There's a barn-like building over here. That's the Maritime History Museum of the Great Lakes. And to the left of that, there's a long building with a strange chimney. That's the pump house. That used to operate the dry dock for our area, where you can take a boat this size or larger in. Take all the water from underneath the ship, and then you could do your inspections or your repairs on the hull without ever having it wet. This breakwater to our left actually is about 75 plus years old and massively expanded the docking space in and around the harbor. It is also the signal that our trip is coming to an end very shortly. I'd like to thank everyone for sailing with us today. It's a beautiful day. It's excellent weather we've had here. I would ask everyone to please return to your seat and remain seated for the rest of the trip. Once we are firmly secured to the dock,
Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for being with us. I'm Captain Tom Foster. Your first mate was Fred Clark. Your purser was Jackson Gill. And ladies and gentlemen, we really hope that we have entertained you. We've enlightened you, given you some information on the places to go see and visit in Kingston, and given you an idea about the political, marine, and military history of this great city. Kingston was once the capital of Canada. But as Jackson has said, ladies and gentlemen, I need you all to return to your seats now. Everyone, return to your seats now. And once we get on dock, we'll let you go one deck at a time. We'll get you home safely with all your parts attached. We're certainly glad you came along and joined us. If you're on your way home, be home safe. Be healthy here in the city. If you're sticking around, come back and join us soon. Once again, glad to have you. Hope to see you again.
இல்லை நான் ஃபுல்லாக கம்ப்ளீட்டாக இருக்கிறேன் மீடியா
அப்படின்னு தள்ளு போதுமா ஓ இப்போ வந்து
அம்மா நான் எடுக்கவா அம்மா நான் எடுக்கவா அம்மா நான் எடுக்கவா
Way down, those stairs are narrow, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you.
Don't crowd, please, folks. Give everybody clear.